All right, good evening and welcome. The meeting of the Cleveland County Board of Education for Monday, June 10th, 2024 is called to order. And we have Pastor Will Davis with Popeville Baptist Church to provide our invocation. Pastor Davis. Looks like he's got an assistant with him tonight.
Yeah, I have my son Tobin with me.
We're glad to have him.
Thank you. Let us pray together. Our Father in heaven, God, we come into your holy presence. First of all, I ask that we be still. We be still and listen for your voice of calm and assurance. And we ask for your spirit of guidance, your spirit of peace that surpasses all understanding. Father, I ask that you help us rejoice in the work that you've called us to do, and that we can enjoy the place that you have us. And Lord, for those who are struggling and are in need, Lord, we ask that you help them and send people their way so that they can find you. God, I thank you for this county and for this board and for each and every school that it represents. And I ask that the decisions be made in unity and be made under your leadership. And it's in the name of Jesus that we pray together. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Mr. Fitch, if you'd lead the pledge.
Yes, sir. Please stand. Salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have some special recognition tonight. I'd like to call on Dr. Jennifer Wall.
Chairman Queen, members of the board, and Dr. Fisher, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to recognize individuals that have had a tremendous impact in the lives of exceptional children in Cleveland County schools. As you know, our occupational course of study diploma requires 225 community-based hours in addition to school and competitive employment. We as a school system depend on our community partners to work with our 10th and 11th graders to gain these community hours, but more importantly, assist our teachers in evaluating skills still needed for competitive employment. The READY program serves all kids with IEPs 14 and up, regardless of their course of study, and provides a service called work-based learning experiences. At the close of every school year, our OCS teachers and READY staff are given an opportunity to nominate a business partner to be honored. We receive so many nominations each year, but this year is an easy decision when we read the mounds of evidence teachers provided, as well as the success stories of our student workers. We knew we wanted to recognize two important community partners with our schools. I asked students and staff a few weeks ago what they would like for me to tell our superintendent and our Board of Education about these awesome community partners. So I'm going to read what some of them said about Donna Brackett, who is at Brackett's Drive-Thru, and Kelly Lawrence, who's at Big Red's Cafe. Miss Donna couldn't be with us tonight, but we're still going to recognize her. A student from Burns stated that Miss Donna got him Christmas gifts and taught him lots of things about work and life. A staff member said Miss Donna has always been very welcoming. All the students love her. She's opened her business to them at a time when in the Burns zone we couldn't find business partners to partner with us. She was the first business to allow the opportunity to use them. And this was her very first time partnering with us as an employer. She has embraced it with love and understanding. There are not enough positive things that they can say about Miss Donna. A staff member at Kings Mountain High School said that all of her students can't wait to work at Big Red's. Miss Kelly talks to the students about job applications, how to be a good employee, the skills needed to be hired, not just at Big Red's, but the basic skills that they all need. She was even a guest speaker at our yearly employability seminar, and she was able to talk to over 200 students about these important job skills. One important skill that a student said that she learned from Miss Kelly was how to work well with others. She stated that Miss Kelly is definitely a positive role model in her life. Ms. Brackett and Ms. Lawrence have gone above and beyond to help our students, and we are grateful to have them serve our community as well as the students in Cleveland County. So it is great pleasure that our 2024 Employer of the Year, sponsored by the Ready Grant, go to Donna Brackett and Kelly Lawrence.
No, everybody just, you don't get off that easy.
Well, I was thinking there was
And we were also scheduled to recognize Max Thompson from Kings Mountain High School. He won the state championship in the 800-meter run, but was not able to be here tonight, so we'll save that for a later meeting. All right, next is adoption of the agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to adopt.
Heard Mr. Fitch and Mr. Bridges. Any questions or comments on the agenda? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. Next, we have approval of the minutes. We have one set of minutes. That's for the May 13th business session. What's the pleasure of the board? Who got it? Mr. Bridges?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Those in favor of the minutes, if you'd raise your hand. And that carries 9-0. Moving on to committee reports, Finance and Personnel, Mr. Shores.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance Personnel Committee met on May 30th. Rob McDaniel shared the standard school bus financing agreement from DPI. While DPI makes these payments on our behalf, the agreement must be approved since the money passes through us. The committee unanimously recommended the approval of this agreement for the board tonight. Mr. McDaniel presented the 2024-25 interim budget resolution. This budget is for operational purposes and will allow the school system to continue to operate on July 1st absent a state budget. The committee unanimously recommended the approval of the interim budget for tonight's meeting. Mr. McDaniel shared that he will bring a budget amendment to the board at their June meeting tonight. If it is possible that state money will come down after the June board meeting, a special call meeting may be needed the last week of June to approve the amended budget. This has been needed in previous years, and so we reserve June 27, 2024 at 11 a.m. for the purpose of this meeting. Dr. Wampler shared our teachers' retention data from 2022-23, which was recently released by NCDPI as part of the State of the Teaching Profession Report. Cleveland County Schools has excellent retention data in comparison to both the state and other surrounding school districts. Specifically, the average state LEA attrition rate was 16.7%, whereas Cleveland County Schools was 11.4%, which means less teachers on the average left Cleveland County Schools than left other districts in the state. In addition, our mobility rate was 2.5%, which means only 2.5% of the teachers left to teach in another North Carolina school district, whereas the average was twice the rate at 5.3%. Dr. Whopper updated the committee on current staffing for the 24-25 school year. For budgetary reasons, we have made 44 cuts at the school level for next year and are working to fill open vacancies. We already have 9 schools who are fully staffed, and we're making good progress on filling any vacant positions due to retirements and resignations. Dr. Fisher and Dr. Wampler shared an update related to the new salary threshold minimums for exempt employees from the Fair Labor Standards Act. There will be a change on July 1st, 2024, which will be a slight impact on Cleveland County Schools, whereas the change to go into effect on January 1st, 2025 will have a huge impact on Cleveland County Schools. Human Resource and Finance are working with Dr. Fisher to determine the best way for the district to comply with these new requirements. More information will be shared with the board as decisions are made. Dr. Fisher updated the committee on recent principal transfers and assistant principal transfers from the 2024-25 school year. Dr. Fisher also shared an ESSER fund update. We're making progress and are close to finishing up of spending all these funds. With no new business, the meeting was adjourned. The next Finance Personnel Committee meeting will be June 27th at noon.
Thank you, Mr. Shores. We do have several action items. First is the master replacement.
I have a question on that.
Yes.
On the ESSER funds. So we still have some ESSER funds, and by my understanding, we could not use any of that on roofs. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. How could we do the other on the inside? And we got leaks now everywhere where they put these new air conditions and they didn't get it sealed. And we've got leaks in our schools now on the inside where we didn't have leaks before. Why could we have not asked where these federal funds come that we needed to put a horse before the buggy?
Well, those are ESSER funds. The reason we could spend those on heating and air is because that was to improve air quality
But
because of the virus.
if we got the air quality, but now we're damaging ceiling tiles everywhere in the whole building because the building's leaking.
Well, I expect there would be different versions of how much leaking we have in the schools. The equipment that was put on the roof of the schools was set so that a new roof can be put on there. Had we put a roof on before, we would have had to make holes where the old equipment is, and now we put the new equipment in, it would make more holes. We'd have twice as many holes.
Well, can we not seal where it is because we don't have the money to put the
And
new roof?
that work's still in progress, so I don't know if
Okay.
they're sealing every day or what. So.
All right.
All right, the first action item is the master replacement bus financing agreement. This is no cost to the district. Again, we're just agreeing to fill out the purchase orders and get repaid by the state. That comes from committee recommended for approval. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. Next, we have Budget Amendment 2. That should be in your packet and comes from the Finance Committee. Again, this is updating our budget for any funds that have come in since the last budget amendment. Possibly we'll have a Budget Amendment 3 later in the month. This, since the numbers are slightly different than presented in committee, we do need a motion to approve the budget amendment.
I need to make a question on that too.
All right, let me get a second
Okay.
first.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bridges, second by Mr. Fitch. All right, Mr. Blanton?
I had several phone calls this past month because I voted against the budget last time. And the reason I voted against it because I felt like we should have been within 90 days of knowing if we was going to have to hire teachers and not hire teachers or TAs. Well, one of the persons they put all out there on Facebook that I voted against teachers getting a raise. I did not do that. I voted against it because we should know before we spend out a bunch of money, we should know where we're standing within 90 days of us being broke or not broke. So I want that person that sent me that email and put it out there. I guess they sent it to all the board members, but I know that I got it and said that I voted against. I'll never vote to downgrade our teachers and them not get a raise. I want that clear. But our finances needs to know that before we give out big raises to other people, we need to know how we're standing across the board. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on Budget Amendment 2? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. Next, we have the interim budget proposal. We have an interim budget because the county have they approved theirs yet? But the state still has not approved theirs. So we have to go one direction and come back. So we'll have a final budget when the state finally approves theirs, which your guess is as good as mine on that one. So the interim budget uses last year's numbers at 75%, 70%? 70%. This comes from committee recommended for approval. This allows us to operate until the final budgets are approved. Any questions or discussion on that? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. Last one is our personnel report. This includes the standard personnel report, our substitutes list, and the administrative moves made with the principals over the last 2 weeks. What's the pleasure of the board? Motion by Mr. Bridges. Did anybody second? Okay. Y'all being bashful tonight. All right, those in favor of the personnel report as presented, if you raise your hand. That carries 9-0. Next is our educational programs, Mr. Humphries.
All right, thank you. Education Programs Committee met on Friday, May the 31st. Mrs. Benfield, CTE District Coordinator, discussed the CTE funding application for the 24-25 school year. It's a 2-year plan. Mrs. Benfield reviewed the needs assessment consisting of input from students, administrators, parents, teachers, and the CTE Advisory Council and businesses. Through the processes, performance data were reviewed. All areas were met or exceeded the 90% benchmark with the exception of academic proficiency in reading language arts. As a result, the district must create strategies that consist of work within the literacy engagement team, alignment with the North Carolina literacy instruction standards, and providing professional development for CTE staff. Mrs. Benfield discussed the CTE strategic plan that will run through 2026. She discussed the expansion and addition of programs at various secondary schools. The CTE planning allotment is $6,017,666.20, consisting of months of employment, state funds, and federal funds. The federal funds have not dropped yet. The committee unanimously approved the CTE plan. Mrs. Benfield discussed CTE summer camp offerings for rising 7th through 12th graders taking place throughout the month of June at multiple schools, Cleveland Community College and the LeGrand Center. At this time, all camps are at capacity. There are 10 camps, an increase from 7 offered last summer. Mrs. Benfield discussed a July camp involving the North Carolina Department of Transportation. The program will evolve into a monthly activity where students will travel to various locations where NCDOT is doing work. The program culminates with a trip across the state to see DOT projects. Mr. Fitch, Executive Director of Exceptional Children, presented 3 EC contracts. Bright Star to provide individual nursing services up to $127,700. ProCare to provide a full-time school psychologist at $112,320. This is due to a shortage of school psychologists. And Solient to provide a special education teacher. There's currently 9 vacancies at $96,480. The committee unanimously approved the 3 contracts for the EC department. Mrs. Fitch shared an update on the Growing Excellent Teachers program. We have 5 classified staff in cohorts 1 and 2. Cohort 3 begins next year. The first graduate is expected in 2025. In 2 to 3 years, Mr. Fitch anticipates the department to gain 7 EC teachers from the program. Mrs. Jackson, Chief Technology Officer, discussed successes of instructional coaches. She also provided updates noting Vivi installation should be completed by July the 19th. Kindergarten iPads are being deployed and E-rate has been approved to update access points across the district. Mr. Benfield, CTE Coordinator, highlighted the internship program in the CTE department, which has increased from 30 to 44, with more than half being offered continued employment, part-time or full-time. These have taken place across 59 business partnerships. Mrs. Fitch, Executive Director of Exceptional Children, highlighted the fact that CCS is the only district in the state to provide the level of support students receive in the GET program. Mrs. Fitch thanked all staff working with students in the Exceptional Children's program. Chris Bennett, Executive Director of Middle Schools and Accountability, thanked the board for their support of the new middle school curricula and discussed the upcoming unpacking sessions that will prepare teachers to use the curricula at the beginning of the 24-25 school year. Mrs. Peeler, Director of the Office of School Readiness, celebrated the 4 schools evaluated by the state, which all scored 6 or higher out of 7 points. Dr. Ware, Executive Director for Alternative and Innovative Programs and Principal of Turning Point Academy, noted the increase in ESL students from 399 to 528. The majority of new students are newcomers. 6% of students exited ESL based on access scores. Dr. Ware discussed several updates to the ESL program for the 24-25 school year. Dr. Ware celebrated the recent graduation of 30 students. 28 were from the School to Work program and 2 from Turning Point. Dr. Shull, Director of Communication, highlighted the district's fine arts program successes this year. He also discussed upgrades to instruments and uniforms. Title IV funds were used to support that work. Dr. Hunnell, Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Instruction, discussed elementary summer camp and high school credit recovery. It was also noted that letters training concluded Thursday, May the 30th for that cohort. I mentioned that there are a number of other districts that are modeling their cell phone policy after Cleveland County Schools policy. And also, every time I get a chance, mention the success of the PALS program. It's really doing a great job. With no other business, the meeting was adjourned. The next meeting for the committee is scheduled for June the 28th at 10:30.
Thank you, Mr. Humphries. We might have to give y'all a raise for all that stuff. That was 2 pages worth there. We do have several action items. First is the CTE funding application. So again, this is no cost to the district. This is the plan that shows the state how we spent CTE money, how we plan to spend it, and we have to do that before they send us the big check. So this is a plan. It's not an expenditure. Comes from committee, recommended for approval. Are there any questions or discussion on that? All in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. There are 3 EC contracts. Again, the first one is with Bright Star. That's for nursing. It's a not-to-exceed contract of $127,700. The second one is ProCare. That's a full-time school psychologist. The cost of that one is $112,320. And Solient is a special ed teacher at a cost of $96,480. All 3 of these come from committee, recommended for approval. Any questions or discussion? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. Then we have the North Carolina DPI contract employees. We've done this for several years now. There are 2 employees that DPI sends us the money to pay those guys and covers the indirect cost associated with handling that. One employee is just over $144,000. The second is $145,000, and the school district gets just a little over $2,900 each to cover the indirect cost. That did not go through committee because we got the agreement after the committee met. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Humphries and a second by Mr. Spurley. Any questions or discussion?
Would you reframe that $2,900 versus that $144,000?
So the $144,000 includes $2,900 to pay our staff to write their paychecks and handle HR and all that stuff for them.
Above that, okay.
Well, it's included in that. But
Okay, all
it's not costing us anything out of pocket.
Okay.
Is the main story there. Any other questions? All in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. Then there's a requisition from Cleveland Community College. This is for the fees for all the CCP students. This is a total amount of $150,000, and that covers the full year. Again, this came in after the committee meeting. So what's the pleasure of the board? Is that you, Mr. Bridges?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Bridges, second by Mr. Taylor.
Is that for a certain amount of students, or is that a cost per student that goes there, or
It's
is?
$50 per class, but it's capped at $150 for a year.
In there, Mr. Blanton, it shows a breakdown per school of attendees in the document.
Well, I couldn't get in. My iPad has been sort of down.
Yeah, so when you get in, it'll show you the
Okay.
breakdown per student, per class, per school.
And I think
Dr.
there-
Fisher couldn't even get in.
I think there was a $30,000 discount in there because of the cap at 150, so, that's good. That covered like, what did we say, 3,600 class hours or something like that. So any other questions?
Question.
Yes, sir.
In my case, is there a conflict of interest or am I okay?
No, you don't get any financial interest in it that
I
I'm
do not.
aware of. So,
Just wanted to make sure.
okay, good question.
Okay.
Anybody else? I'll confirm with that. Okay. All right, those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. Operations report, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The May 31st Operation Committee meeting was called to order by Greg Taylor. Dr. Jennifer Wampler and Chip Childers shared the capital projects report for review. The committee discussed the report. This report will be attached to the board's agenda in June as an information item. Dr. Wampler and Dr. Stephen Fisher updated the committee on the capital improvement plan, which includes building addition projects at Bethware Elementary and Kings Mountain Middle Schools. Therefore, they are applying for funding for the construction of these additions through the Needs-Based Public Schools Capital Fund. Dr. Fisher shared that the attorney is working with DOT to purchase an easement at a nominal fee at Bethwell Elementary School, which is where the current car rider line runs in front of the auditorium and gym. This has come up as part of Holland and Hamrick's work on the drawings for an addition at Bethware. Daniel Sherman shared a change order for Burns High School related to abatement for Phase 8 and 9, which was in the amount of $34,663 and is covered by contingency funds. This does not require board approval, but is for board and committee information. This is the end of the abatement needs at Burns related to the MEP projects. Mr. Sherman updated the committee on the press box projects at Burns and Crest, which are both well underway and on track to be completed in early August of this year. The HVAC renovation project will be in full swing next week in the vocational building at Shelby High School. The switchgear will be changed at Kings Mountain High starting June 4th, and the power will be off in the main building for a couple of weeks. All projects are moving forward and are on schedule. Jamie Currier gave a child nutrition update. We have over 300 families scheduled as part of summer feeding to pick up meal kits. Our summer feeding sites are West Elementary and Shelby Middle School. This year, over 830 breakfast meals were provided and 1.5 million lunches were provided. Ginger Jackson shared that technology has been approved to redo our wireless infrastructure through our E-rate Cat 2 budget. With no additional new business, the meeting was adjourned. The next Operations Committee meeting is scheduled for Friday, June 8th at 12 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Next is our Policy Committee report. Mr. Bridges, I understand you're doing that one tonight.
Yep. The May 21st Policy Committee meeting was called to order by Joel Shores and Dr. Stephen Fisher. Led the committee in reviewing policies 3200, 3200R, 3205, 3210, 3210E, 3220, 3225, 3226, 3226E, 3227, and 3230 regarding instructional materials, including selection, responsible use, safety, and development. The committee had a lengthy discussion related to these policies and district practices. These policies were reviewed as part of the committee's ongoing review of the board policy manual and are in the 3000 section, which is educational programs. No substantive changes were recommended to these policies by the committee. With no additional new business, the meeting was adjourned. The next policy committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 25th at noon.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. We do have one policy for approval. This is Policy 4150R that deals with athletic eligibility. And to summarize, it puts a school transfer and athletic transfer now is together and is part of the same process. Those are not two separate steps. And hopefully that'll eliminate some of the issues there. This does come from committee, recommended for approval. Any questions or discussion on the policy? Those in favor, if you'd raise your hand. That carries 9-0. We did not have a safety committee meeting this past month. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, June 25th at noon. And Dr. Fishers, it's your turn.
We're running along. I'll just take a little extra time on the superintendent's update tonight.
Now, I've got a bet with Hunnell as to how long it's going to take us, so don't take too long.
I'll be very brief. I've included some pictures of the Rev Up camps and some things we've got going on. Last week, although it's summer, our schedules are still full. These are fifth graders involved in a career exploration camp. Lots of things going on. This was held in staff development. These young people had a great time and a great week last week. We've done built robots to taking blood pressure, lots of career exploration for those young people there. Again, great week for the fifth graders. We also had our Rev Up camps. We had students participate in a culinary camp. This was, I believe, day 4, and they were making chicken Alfredo or chicken Parmesan. They made their own noodles, did a great job there. Had the opportunity to talk with some of those young people that afternoon, and they really had a great time, great experience working in the kitchen. We held that at the Grand Center. And this picture at the bottom is a young lady making noodles. The top is a personal services or a cosmetology Rev Up camp that was held in the cosmetology department at Cleveland Cleveland Community College with those students. And the last couple pictures are pictures of our middle school teachers. Over 90% of our middle school teachers met for the majority of last week at Shelby Middle School, working through our English and math curriculum adoptions. Great job. Dr. Bennett did a wonderful job of leading that. Going back to the CTE, Ms. Rhonda Benfield did a wonderful job of putting that together for the week. Again, appreciation of all the hard work and dedication as we closed this school year. Great graduations. Things were well. Appreciate all those of you that were able to attend those graduation ceremonies. A lot of success there. Although it is the summer, it doesn't feel like we've slowed down. We do have a busy summer. Last week there were 3 CTE Rev Up camps, and showed you some highlights from those. This coming week, starting today, we have 7 Rev Up camps: agriculture, culinary, personal services, robotics, skilled trades, advanced technology, and healthcare. Those are happening all throughout the county and on the community college campus. So lots of great things going on. As mentioned in the committee reports, we will please continue to hold Thursday, June 27th at 11 for a special call board meeting for a final budget amendment that day. We will have that a face-to-face and a Zoom option for board members that day. We will need to take care of budget amendment number 3. That day we received federal funds this past Friday, and we have been told we will get more money this coming week. So we will need to clean that up in our budget before we end the year. So we'll do that Thursday, June 27th at 11 o'clock. Can't come face to face, but we'll set up a Zoom meeting to do that. It will be very short to do that there today.
I'm gonna be on the road, doctor.
Okay.
So I know I won't be here on the 27th at 11 o'clock. Now, if it was at 9:30, I could be here, but or afterwards.
Well, we'll miss you.
I know you will.
You can zoom in and you can zoom in.
I'm sure you will miss
Even
me.
if you're not driving, you can zoom in the car, but we'll need to get that budget amendment taken care of before June 30th. So continue to hold that date for that action.
I doubt if anybody misses me too much.
Mr. Blanton, I'm sure we will. You will be missed. And the next regular scheduled board meeting is Monday, July 22nd at 6 o'clock. Mr. Chairman, that's all the updates I have for tonight. Oh,
Thank
one
you.
other thing, excuse me. This was sent to me after I put this together. We did have 365 K-5 teachers successfully complete letters training. That was a 2-year process. It's a big deal. I know those teachers are excited to have that done. We had 41 BTs, or beginning teachers, that completed year 1 of letters. You know, they will be in letters year 2 next year, but this was their first year teaching, so they've completed year 1. I know those 365 teachers that completed letters are happy to have that behind them.
So that's done.
Those teachers are done with that, and we'll continue to, now will be an ongoing, for folks that come into the district that have not had those letters, we will have some ongoing work with that.
Were they not going to include some of that training at the university level?
Some of that will be included in there, but there will be, we'll still have some folks come lateral entry or from different states that wouldn't have done that. So we have, we're putting together a team that will be able to do internal training to do that letters training.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Math Academy, we're not having it this year?
Math Academy is in July, yes, sir.
July?
It'll begin, the July 8th. I think that's the Monday after the July 4th week. I think the 8th is Monday. It begins July 8th. Great question. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. I don't have any for public participation. Okay. We'll move on to board member comments. Mr. Grigg.
I just want to say that, we had a lot of good graduations. Our graduations went off well. I appreciate being a part of it this year, and I hope that all of our children have great success in their journey wherever they go. That's all I've got to say.
Mr. Bridges? Okay. Mr. Spurley?
So likewise, congratulations to all the graduates. Best wishes in whatever route through life you take. I also want to point out, I wasn't here last week or last month, so I do want to point out, we attended the Educational Foundation Scholarship Night a little over a month ago, I guess, or about a month ago now. Almost 200 scholarships for students with a 4.0 or above average. That was just the top students. I think there were others that have 4.0s, but those were the top 200. And so congratulations to them. I also want to highlight through some of the minutes, when the minutes were being read, I want to highlight a few things. One, State of the Teaching Professional Survey. Retention rate for teachers in Cleveland County, 5.3% better than the state average. Mobility, now what is retention rate? It's how many teachers stay with us versus even leaving, right? So then we have mobility rate. Only 2.5% of the total number of teachers in Cleveland County went to a different district to teach. 2.5%. Through let me go on. 44 CTE internships. That's a huge thing. Internships. High school students are going to local businesses and working, getting on-the-job training, and over half of those students are being retained for employment. So those numbers, to me, that's exciting. And I just want to point out, I know we're in election season and you're going to hear the house is on fire, but when you have numbers like that, that tells me our staff, our administrators have done a good job. Our school system is in a good place. Now, if anybody wants to donate millions of dollars, we'll be in a better place. But our school system is in a good place, and we have people doing good things.
Mr. Fitch. Mr. Blaine.
Well, I'd just like to thank all those graduates. I could not be here this year. I wasn't there last year for a reason, but this year my wife had surgery and I had to be with her. And congratulations to all of those that graduated, and be safe this summer, kids. Be smart, and go to school or go to work. And God bless all of y'all.
Mr. Humphries. So I would like to point out, kind of like Mr. Spurling did, one of the notes in our Operations Committee is I'd like to recognize our child nutrition folks. They do an outstanding job getting spun up for the summer feeding program. Again, if you need information on that, you can check Facebook or our website. There'll be 2 sites for that. But to imagine that these ladies prepared 830,000 breakfasts last year and 1.5 million lunches for our kids, I think that's about a 75 or 80% participation rate. So they're doing a good job. Appreciate everything they do. And so we will move on. Mr. Shores, do you have a motion for closed session?
Yes, sir. Pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11, subsection A6, I make a motion we go into closed session regarding a personnel matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think I heard Fitch. Any questions or I picked one. So any questions or discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. All right, 9-0.